Welcome. You are listening to Humans of Mitti Ke Rang, and today we are in conversation with Mr. Charles Kigs from Kenya. Mr. Kigs is the founder and project coordinator of Big Sister campaign at Kenya. He is also the assistant country director at $1 Glasses Kenya and the alumni coordinator at Young Life Kenya. Tune in to know more about his journey and story so far. So should we begin with the questions, Charles?
For sure. Thank you for having me, and welcome, guys. Come on, keep coming.
We're glad to have you. Charles, starting with $1 Glasses, if you could please tell us, you're the assistant country director. If you could please tell us more about $1 Glasses and what does your work actually entail there?
Well, a simple introduction to $1 Glasses is about our goal is to establish basic optical care for everyone, and not just in Kenya, but in over 8 countries around Africa and Asia. And so what we do at $1 Glasses is that we manufacture glasses on site in different countries that we're in the various 8 countries that we're in. And so we manufacture these glasses using very simple bending machine and special wires that come in form of glasses. And then we input the frames according to the prescription that we find. So $1 Glasses has eye specialists who are doctors, but also we train local people on the ground on the use and how to make these glasses on the ground. So my biggest role in $1 Glasses has been bringing the organization part and just making sure that the people on the ground are benefiting, reaching out to marginalized areas and broadening the perspective. I'm not an eye doctor, but I have so much knowledge about running organizations and bringing people together, doing fundraising, and just making sure that people have access to basic things like eye care. Sure. So that is my biggest role. Thank you.
Lovely. And moving on to Young Life Kenya, you are the alumni coordinator. So again, please tell us about the organization and your role, the role that you play there.
So basically, Young Life is a Christian organization that began in US in 1941 in Colorado. And it grew in the US for so long, and it was later introduced into Africa about 15 years ago. I went through Young Life as a teenager, and the biggest thing that I got from Young Life is much more about behavioral change, molding me to become that young man, above all learning some skills as a young man and how to carry out myself and whatnot. But it's all of it behind a Christian background. And that was great because it kept me away from so much trouble, and I also got to hang out with very awesome people. But the best thing that happened, I would say, is that growing in Young Life, it molded me into becoming that leader. It put me out there. I was able to guide other young men growing up as a teenager and into adulthood. And so I would have like mini sessions with young people, and we'd get creative, like we'd have a soccer team or a team, something put together for young people to come together. So that molded me into putting me on the spot into leading other young people and to make them understand and be something and identify themselves, identify who they are in life. And so throughout, it got to a point that after college, I stepped out of Young Life. Well, it's not like I was employed. I was just a volunteer leader. And I stepped out and I felt, Young Life doesn't have a chapter, especially in Africa, where we can say that we have alumni. And so I felt the need to start a program for those old guys who've gone through Young Life in Africa and bring them together and also help fundraise for Young Life, because Young Life fully caters for kids to go to camps. So Young Life operates with camps, gets kids in their own areas and take them to camps, fun camps, and that's the whole point. And so all these funds come through different countries where people fundraise so that other kids in other different countries can go to these camps. And so I was one of the beneficiaries for that. And I felt, how about we start something in Africa, and especially Kenya, where we can bring people together who've been in Young Life and friends of Young Life and actually fundraise and come with creative ideas on how we can lead Young Life. And boom, we began about 2 years ago. And so immediately I took the role of Alumni Director for Kenya, and Kenya being the pioneer in Africa. And so I've been helping also with ideas and the blueprint of Young Life Africa, especially with the alumni chapter, on how we could progress and how we could help the rest of Africa and kids, and how we can also fundraise. Because I'd say something that for the longest time, Africa has depended so much on the West in terms of funding. And we realize that Africans, we have so much resources within our own selves. So what can we do for our own selves? So that is the whole push that I'm trying to bring in everybody, with the alumni especially, to do things for us. Yeah.
Lovely. And
thank you.
Coming to your organization, the Big Sister campaign. So first, please just tell us how and when did you think of starting this?
Big Sister was initiated back when I was in college, and it was just a crazy idea because it's something that I had never planned. It's something that it was just not in my head at all, and it just happened with a story of one brilliant girl. So I used to walk down to the slums. One of the biggest slums in Kenya, it's called Mathare slums. And so time and time again, I'd go down there, just walk around and get to see, what's happening, catch up with a few friends. But there was this just story of this one young girl whom we'd always catch up. She was, I think she was 12 years old. And at every certain time of the month, about third week of the month, she would approach me and she would ask me for a few coins, basically like $50. It didn't hit my head, but I realized there was just a pattern about it for some time. And this kept happening for a few months. And so one time I got to sit her down and ask her, hey, what's this about? And she told me that every time that you give me that $50, that caters for my sanitary pads. And that keeps me away from teenage prostitution. And I realized this is something that I was doing unknowingly, and I was keeping her safe. And, I asked her, how many others are going through the same thing that you're going through every month? She told me a whole bunch of my friends are going through the same. And 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds going through prostitution in a slum with old men as old as their fathers. That was very saddening to me. And so I decided to take action. Of course, I didn't have much to offer, but the little I could get, I'd go to a supermarket or a store nearby, buy them sanitary pads, and of course, bring them at this time. And as time went by, the number kept increasing. So I had like 3 girls who I used to give. And the next few months later, I have like 10, 15, 20 as we continue. And I realized the number was flowing and I could no longer be able to do it from my own pocket. So I call out some of my friends and some of my college mates, and, they decide to chip in. And chipping in means that, everybody goes to a store, buys as much sanitary pads, and here we go down to the slum and hang out with them. But as more and more we continued hanging out with them, the more and more the script changed, because they started opening up to us. They started telling us about their issues, their problems, the things that they would like to aspire to be. And a whole new conversation was sparked by this. And so we felt like being big brothers and big sisters to these young girls. And I felt just mainly because they're opening up to us about deep issues that they're going through. Some of these things I'm not in a position to address them as a man. So I called in a bunch of my friends who are ladies, and I told them, hey, you know what, we need to do something for these girls actually. And one of the ladies says, you know what, how about we become big sisters to these young girls? And just like that, Big Sister was born. And so right now, as we speak, we are running the 11th year of Big Sister. It has been a huge success because we actually just shifted from just giving them pads to addressing issues. So we jumped into advocacy, advocating for their rights. And, we also jumped into education. Some of them, we got friends from abroad and everywhere around the world who said, you know what, I want to educate one of the girls. And we started having a fund for some of the girls to go back to school. And also we even started an investment program where some of them are young mothers, some of them are young, teenage mothers. So what can we do? We started up a small startup businesses for them, which have been a huge, huge success. And they've been able to stay away from, so many things around the community like prostitutions and whatnot, and also be able to provide for their families. So that is the story of Big Sister campaign. And that has also led to employment of other people. So, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Being a social entrepreneur was never really your plan. It just happened, is it?
It just happened. I found myself in it. I didn't know. Out of a very simple gesture that I decided, I'll reach out to a needy girl and just help her because she could be my sister, and I wouldn't want her to go through the same thing. So unknowingly, I found myself in it. And every time that we get to sit down and we catch up, right now she's already in college. She's in her second year of university. And every time we catch up, we bring that conversation that, you are the one who brought me this far and got me into all this that I do every day. So it's just a beautiful story.
That is so heart-touching to hear, and we're so happy that you're doing this. Again, as a girl, I can relate to it, and I maybe not completely, but at some level, yeah. So what you're doing is great, and please keep it up. And
thank you.
So how has your experience as a social entrepreneur been so far?
I would say personally, it's just life-changing, and it just gives me so much happiness. There's just that gratitude. I mean, I can imagine 10 years ago where this young girl was, and if it wasn't for that just simple gesture that I did and my friends chipped in, where would she be right now if it wasn't for that? Right now, she's in university in her second year, and we're still trying our level best to cater for all her education as far as she can go. And so it has been so much, it gives me so much happiness to see like people come out from, it gives people freedom, freedom to come from wherever place they've come from, because I get to interact with so many people from the slums and marginalized areas. And you see that they're kind of like in a mental prison where they can't think, and they just think that whatever I'm in, I can't even get out. And so once these people are empowered through different avenues, like through education, through giving them startups like investments, these people, their brains become free. And so seeing this mental freedom with these people is so much, gives me so much gratitude, because at the end of the day, I'm a product of that. Somebody invested in my life to be who I am today. And that's another long story, by the way. My parents are white and they live in South Carolina. And they invested in me my entire life to be who I am today. And so I think it's just something that, and it doesn't have to be with everybody that you're going to help. It can be one person, but that one person's life means everything. So it gives me so much gratitude to be doing social entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Beautiful. Before I move on this note, if any of our viewers want to ask any questions to Charles, please go ahead and leave them down in the comments and we'll get to them. Charles, you've done so much amazing work, and do you have an inspiration, someone you look up to when you work?
I have someone that I look up to, sorry.
Do you have an inspiration when it comes to your work?
Or what inspires me to do what I do? It's basically the change that comes with it. Sorry. It's basically the change. It's basically the change that comes with it. I'm a product of giving, you know. And just like I said, somebody invested in my life at a point where my own parent could have done what they did. And so, you know, the change that came with it is what is becoming a ripple effect and, you know, affecting many lives positively. And so that is what inspires me, that a simple deed into my life created all this. So what can I do for others? Yeah.
Okay. So Amit Jain asks, please share your experience with Commonwealth with us.
Oh, I love the Commonwealth, and I'm so glad that Amit is here. We've had very awesome conversations with Amit, and especially meeting in Malaysia and getting to have that cultural exchange. Commonwealth is one of the best platforms in the world for young people to grow and also open up and also expand their boundaries in terms of advocacy and education. And I would say I am here right now having this conversation because of Commonwealth, because I met Amit in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, and had a great conversation. I learned about what he does in India, and I still support his work, and he learned about what I do in Kenya, and that cultural exchange and just getting to learn each other's social entrepreneurship skills and what we can do for each other. So my experience has been great, and I always advocate for every young person to get plugged into Commonwealth, because you never know who you're going to meet. You never know the opportunities that might come by. And so it has been the greatest experience so far, and I just love every bit about it. And so happy to meet Amit. Thank you for that question, man.
And so if I could ask you, what is your vision for yourself and all the organizations that you work for and with?
My vision is just to see everybody free from poverty. Poverty, it doesn't mean sometimes lack of food or lack of basic things, but poverty could even be mental. You know, it could be mental slavery. That is poverty. And so poverty could mean lack of education. And so my biggest aim and my biggest vision every day that I wake up to every day and I follow that is to free everybody from poverty. May it be education, may it be basic things that every human being deserves, free them from that. And so, yeah.
Lovely.
My vision. Yeah.
When for our Indian viewers, if you could please share something about your country and what you find is the beauty of it.
Oh my God, I don't know. I tell everybody around the world, and not just because I know it's just not Indians who are here. A bunch of people that I keep seeing from different parts of the world, and I would say this: there are a billion things about Kenya. Kenya is one of those places that no matter where I go around the world, no matter where I travel to, I always miss Kenya. I mean, it's just so much. There's just an amazing wildlife, and that's, of course, the big five. All of them are found in Kenya. There's the great wildebeest migration, which is in the Guinness World Book of Record, found in Kenya. We have beautiful plains and savanna, of course. The stunning coastal side of Kenya, which is around Mombasa and that whole stretch of the coast of the Indian Ocean. That's very, 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 very beautiful. There's, of course, their music, ethnic diversity. Kenya has over 40 to 50 distinct ethnic groups, and that are totally different from each other. So this is something to learn from. This is something to enjoy. And above all, Kenya is one of the fastest growing countries in Africa in terms of economy, in terms of technology, business opportunities, infrastructure. So when I say I have a billion reasons to live in Kenya, I do have them. And no matter where I go, I still have to come back to Kenya. So yeah, for sure. There's a million things about Kenya. And we have actually a huge Indian community in Kenya. Yeah. So, sorry?
Is that true? I mean...
Yeah, there's a huge Indian community in Kenya. Very, very huge. Very, very
huge.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. And coming to the last couple of questions for the day.
Right.
From your experience, as a social entrepreneur and the experiences that you've been through, if you had to give a few words of advice to other people who are probably working towards doing something similar, so what would those words of advice be?
I'd say social entrepreneurship develops a sense of mission and vision that brings change in the society. And also this possesses the talent and qualities to understand and analyze, social problems. So you and I are able to develop creative ideas and strategies to help, alleviate these problems that we are facing in the society and also the world. Because I've learned the challenges that Indians go through, and I've had conversations with Amit. I mean, I get to see what he's doing every time. They're not far off from the things that are going through in Kenya and East Africa. And if we share ideas about how I'm tackling these issues, the same ideas can be implemented or even be, twitched a little bit to adapt to the situation on the ground. So I've learned so many lessons from different countries that I've been to, and especially Asia, on how to curb these problems and also adapt and bring them back to Africa and especially Kenya, and just switch a few things and make them adaptable to the people. And so you and I have the solutions. And so these are some of the things I would encourage everybody out there. Whatever you do, make sure that you're plugged to one another, and that's how to end poverty and to free people from poverty. So it's a great thing. Yeah.
Wow. Really well said. And finally, before we take your leave, if you could please share with us your social media handles or website, if you have any, so that our viewers can get in touch with you and get to know more about your work.
Yeah, for sure. I'd share three things. One of them is $1 glasses. Just basically what we do by, providing basic optical care for everyone in Kenya and also 7 other countries around the world. To get to know more about what we do, just check out $1glasses.org.org, $1glasses.org. So check that out on Instagram or on Facebook. Please check that out. It's such an amazing work that we're trying to do out there with a whole team of volunteers and some guys, some workers who do such an amazing work. Also check out Young Life Africa. Check out on Google. Young Life is a very huge platform globally. Check out younglife.org. And also there's younglifeafrica.org. And you get to learn so much about what Young Life is doing. And I'm also the alumni coordinator for Kenya and Africa. And so there's also my social media pages, of course, Charles Kigs, Kigs, on Facebook, on Instagram, and any other platform. Yeah, let's catch up. Let's have conversations about, changing the world together.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Charles. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. The work that you do is amazing, and we wish you all the very best. And we hope it just keeps getting better and better from here on. Again, thank you so much for giving us your time, and it was great having you.
Thank you so much. And I'm trying as much as I have to plug you in with as many guys from Africa and around the world. This conversation does not end. And so I'd encourage all you guys who are down here and all you guys who are listening, please keep plugged in, and we're going to bring you more interesting people from around the world, and especially Africa. So once again, thank you guys for having me, and you guys rock. Let's do this as many times. Thank you.
I'm definitely looking forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.